It's time to chill out and get ready for a mediocre Q&A live stream. If you're old enough, grab yourself your favorite adult beverage, and if you're not, stick with apple juice. Put your feet up and relax. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And now let's cue up the intro music. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I'm Chris with HVACR videos. I mean, I would think you would know that because you're watching my stream, but I guess some people might not know who I am. I'm just an HVAC tech. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Let me know in the chat if the audio is good. I'm assuming so, but yeah, it's always good. But it's always good to ask the chat sometimes just to make sure. But yeah, I'm Chris. I'm just here sharing the little bit of knowledge that I have, kind of giving you a little window into how my brain works, you know? So cool, right on. Fresh off of my trip to AHR. That was a whirlwind. You know, all these trade shows that I go to, or AHR is the main one I go to, and then I go to the Pasadena trade show here in SoCal once a year too. But wall of shame and regrets. Yeah, I've just always had PT charts there, Michael. Yeah, anyways, whatever. I got distracted there as I was sitting here thinking about what I could put that's cool behind me. See, you distracted me there, dude. Come on. I see what you did. I see what you're going. Now in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I need some, because to be honest with you, how many people even understand PT charts now? Like, I guess you still know, but I mean, we used to carry those in our pockets. I know you did, Michael, right? You probably, I mean, I know you're a little bit younger than me, but you were in the trade, I think, carrying PT charts in your pocket. I always had a Tecumseh PT chart in my pocket. I would always look at saturation temperatures, learn different things about it. Yeah, interesting. So we're streaming in a couple different platforms. We're YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, couple different YouTubes, Instagram. For whatever reason, the streaming software I use, it'll stream to all those platforms, but it doesn't put the Instagram comments or the LinkedIn comments up where the chat's at. That's so annoying because Or no, I think it does the LinkedIn, just not the Instagram. So anyways, I try to keep track of everything. Let's see. Jake says he saw me at HR. Looked like I was busy. Would have liked to have met me. All right, Jake, here's the deal. And I'm going to tell this to anybody else. I always look like I'm busy, but I'm not. Okay. Come talk to me. Even like if I'm at a manufacturer's booth, like come talk to me. Okay. It actually helps me. So please come up and say something to me next time. Right. Even if I've got people talking, whatever, that's what I go to those shows for. And I always get that comment, and that's cool. Like I get it. See, I basically have asshole written across my forehead, and I always look like I'm on a mission when I walk, right? I'm sure it's spectrum related crap, right? Because I'm definitely on the spectrum, but I'm always on a mission, right? And I truly do like talking to everybody. I like meeting everybody. And that's actually what I was going to talk about. I'm fresh off of the trip to AHR, and something that it is so hard for me to process this. I don't understand, like, and I don't know how to explain this correctly. I go to these trade shows, right? So that way, you know, people that want to say hi and stuff can come up, take pictures. Manufacturers like me to hang out at their booth because obviously it brings people to the booth, right? That kind of stuff. I still don't understand, like, how many of you want to come up and say hi or take a picture with me. It blows my mind. Like, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around that. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'm just a normal person. Like, and don't take it the wrong way. Like, I truly appreciate it. It still just humbles me. Like, it is so humbling that people, every time I go, I tell my wife before I go, well, this might be the year and nobody comes to say hi. Like, I genuinely don't know. This has got to have an end, right? There's going to be a point at which people will stop watching my videos or something. I don't know, but I just keep uploading stuff and it's just bizarre. So thank you. Thank you to everybody that watches the videos, that leaves comments, that comes to these live streams. It's very humbling, and I'm happy to share the little bit of knowledge that I have. You know, I was literally just having a conversation. Well, actually, I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent. Let me just write this down because I want to talk about AHR a little bit more. So conversation. I was having a conversation with myself today when I was driving, by the way. You really want to know if I'm on the spectrum. That's a normal occurrence, okay? Conversation with myself about, and I already lost track of what I was having the conversation about. Good gosh, my brain is just like, boing, other direction. Yeah, goes off on a tangent. But anyways, whatever. AHR was a trip. I'm very thankful that y'all come up and want to watch the videos and everything. It looks like Mark Anthony maybe. Okay. Mark Anthony asked me on Instagram, am I hiring? I mean, I'm always looking for the right service technician. I kind of have 2 apprentices right now, so I can't bring on an apprentice, but feel free to shoot me an email over at hvacrvideos@gmail.com with your resume, and I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at it basically. Okay. Anyways, back to AHR because I get easily distracted like a puppy, right? It's definitely surreal and it is overwhelming. This year, actually last year, I took my wife. I convinced my wife to go with me because I just wanted her to see how big it was, like, you know, and all that. She was there last year and it was such a great help having her there that she came with me this year. And I have to say that, like, the stress level at AHR this year for me was non-existent because my wife was there, right? She makes it so much easier for me. So I'm so thankful to have her and have her be part of this and be willing to help me out. But I have a hard time managing my time at AHR because oftentimes someone comes up and want to talk to me and I'll talk to them as long as they want, you know, within reason, right? But then I realized that there's another person over there waiting and another person over there waiting. And it's like, so then my wife is really good at making sure that she keeps me on track, right? Make sure that I get to the booths when I need to be. And I have to say, like, being able to shut that part of my brain off makes me enjoy it so much more because I'm always just thinking of so many different things and it's firing off in different directions. So having her there made it so much easier, right? But here's the kicker. We got done with AHR, right? And usually I'm super stressed. This year, I just decided to take a chill pill. And I realized I never saw any of the show, none of it, besides walking to the booths that I went to and talking to the people that I talked to. We left early on Wednesday. We didn't even get to walk the show. Like, we were tired. I was exhausted and it was just time to head back. So we drove to Vegas. That's where AHR was. We're talking about the AHR expo that just happened. It'll be happening next year in Chicago. and I should be there too. But anyways, again, stay on track, right? So we flew out Saturday. We did our thing on Saturday, hung out, had a nice dinner, walked the strip for a bit. Sunday, we had something really cool, right? And keep in mind, I'm going to attempt to do this whenever AHR is in a place that has nice weather. Won't be happening in Chicago, I can guarantee you that. But we went on a hike. So we organized a hike. I threw it out on Instagram, let everybody know where I was going to be. We had about, I don't know, six people maybe show up, 8 people, somewhere in there show up. And we had a really nice hike at Red Rock Canyon. Now, a lot of other people reached out to me, but Red Rock Canyon is not rideshare friendly. So unfortunately, some people couldn't come because of that. You had to have a car or have a ride there or something. But anyways, we did a hike, and that was a great way to start AHR. It truly was. It just turned into a really nice day, a great view of the strip from the top of Calico Tanks, the top of the trail. Great view of the strip. It was an awesome hike, and we plan to do that more. Anytime we're in Vegas, if it's a fun trip, we'll try to organize something, because I know there's a bunch of you from the Vegas area. So we'll definitely try to do that again, maybe when we're in town. We did that I think we were out in town for maybe my wife's birthday or something like that this last year in April. And we did the same thing. We went on a hike with a few different people. So anyways, let's see. It says, let this man build some nutso shit in the backyard. She's obviously, oh yeah, exactly. My wife is so amazing that if you don't already know, I just built an entire walk-in cooler and freezer, a 25-foot box. That's, I think it's, the freezer's 12 foot, the cooler's 12 foot. I think it's 8 foot deep, 7 foot tall. Huge ass structure. I poured a concrete pad for it. If you guys haven't seen the stuff, I have little teaser clips and stuff up. We're going to be doing videos on it soon, whole thing. So again, I'll just go back real quick to AHR, then we'll jump back in. But then we went to the Tactical Awards Sunday. Tactical Awards was awesome. You know, my favorite thing about the Tactical Awards, I mean, don't get me wrong, but I could care less about the awards ceremony. It's just getting together with all the social media creators before AHR, because during AHR we're all super busy and we don't even have time to because we all got stuff going on, right? So the Tactical Awards is just like a place to hang out with all the social media creators, talk to friends, see people you haven't seen in a while. Got to meet a few people I've interacted with online. So that's what I dig about the Tactical Awards. Anyways, we did that, and then Monday was the start of the show. Then we had dinners Monday night. Tuesday started the show, and then dinner Tuesday night. Like, it was just a whirlwind, exhausting, but we're home. It's all good. But I truly did not see any of the show. People are asking me, did you see that Vito had this or this had that? Nope, I didn't see any of it. Did not see a lick of it. I saw what I paid attention to as I was walking to the Refrigeration Technologies booth, the Heatcraft booth, or the Parker Sporland booth. That's all I saw, and then I was out. But it was awesome. It was cool what I did get to do. And again, thank you for everybody that did come up to me, took a picture, hung out. It was really cool. So let's see what else we got going on in the chat right now. Not attending Chicago. You have to, oh, you can have that. Cold, said Mike B. Yeah, I don't understand why the people, actually, I heard a very interesting fact. I don't know if this is true. I'm probably spreading fake news. But I heard that in Chicago, when they typically have AHR, they tend to have the best attendance numbers and people that stay at the show longer, as opposed to places like Vegas and Orlando, because there's so much other stuff to do. It sounds like it could be true, you know, but basically people stay at the show longer because there's nothing else to do, and it's so damn cold. You're not going to the strip. You're not going to the theme parks. You're just going there to go to AHR. So interesting, but Chicago is crazy. It was super cold last year. My wife's never been to truly cold weather like that. So next year, she's going to have to figure out what it's like to be in Chicago weather, because it's stupid cold with that lake effect. Oh, man, that temperature. Oh, my gosh, it's crazy. But anyways, all right, so let's get on to a few different things. Have had a few different videos in the last while, but to go ahead and catch everybody up, I started talking about my walk-in project. Yeah, I am working behind the scenes on building a walk-in cooler and a freezer. Haven't really missed anything from the last point that I updated everybody, which was just showing the box. I've got power hooked up, breakers installed, all that stuff ready ready to energize the high voltage. I already energized the low voltage, made sure all the lights work. I still got to add a few lights, but I got to get some equipment first because I need to make a structure to hang the evaporators from. The idea is in my head is that I'm going to make it with Unistrut. And so a lot of people don't quite understand why I want to hang these evaporators in this box from Unistrut. And that's because these evaporators are going to be moved. They're going to be changed. It's not going to be one evaporator. This is a full training box with simply the main goal of building this box is to have content for YouTube. That is the main goal of building this. And for me to selfishly have fun and do experiments, okay? My own technicians will get to play with the box and stuff and do different things, but that's the whole idea. So by hanging the evaporators from Unistrut, and let me give some context too. I have a rubber membrane with a foam sloped roof that I have not added to the box yet because it's outside in the weather. Now, granted, we don't get snow here. We don't get a lot of rain. I still don't want the box getting rained on. So I actually have a rubber membrane up on the box. I rolled it all up because we get winds here a lot and it was just whipping all over the place. So I rolled it up, but I'm actually going to have to go roll it back out tomorrow because we've got weather coming in tomorrow night. We're supposed to have rain for the next week or something like that, a bunch here in SoCal. So anyways, but the whole thing is I don't want to permanently put the rubber roof on my walk-in box and or the foam because you have to flash it all on. And once I put it on, I don't want to really have to take it off again unless I truly have to, because it's going to be a pain in the butt. So with that being said, I have to figure out a way to be able to change the evaporator coils in the future. So, you know, some experiment ideas I have for my walk-in box is to install undersized equipment maybe someday. Right. And in the middle of the summer, let's show what happens with undersized equipment. Now, spoiler alert, there's so much fudge factor in load calculations that even if you undersize your equipment and if you follow a load calculation and you do just the normal duty, there's fudge factor built into that. So depending on how low you undersize the equipment, it'll just have longer run times, less off time, right? It won't be, you know, set up to run for, 16 hours throughout the day. It might actually run for 20 hours throughout the day or something like that, depending on how low you go, right? But so those are experiments I want to be able to do. But for now, I've got to just build out the box with the normal equipment because I want to go through basic videos, doing different stuff. We have all kinds of ideas and had a conversation with someone at AHR that might turn into something really cool Yeah. I'm not going to give any more spoilers because, we got to work some things out. But some cool content that this box might lead to. So that's another cool thing. But anyways, so the reason why I want to hang the coils from Unistrut is because I want to be able to change out coils in the future. I'm trying to think of something that's easy where I don't have to access the top of the box again. So the idea is that I'm either going to suspend the Unistrut from the walls, build an actual structure, kind of like a gantry or something that the coils are hanging on, or hang the Unistrut from the ceiling. But anyway, I want to be able to add Unistrut to it in the future. You know, if the new coil that I put in has a wider stance or a narrower stance or whatever, right? So I want to make it as easy as possible to add equipment in the future. So anyways, that's why, but that's where I'm at. I just need to select the equipment. I started to do a rough load calculation on it. I have a general idea, but I need to, so the way that my brain works, a lot of people might ask like, how come I can focus so hard on the videos? Why do I dig so hard? It comes naturally to me because it's when I'm interested in something, I get really curious and I just go down rabbit holes, right? So when it comes to sizing the equipment, I do a load calculation. I look at an extreme load, a low load, and kind of find something happy medium in the middle. But then because this is my equipment, this is my box, this is literally for me, nobody controls it but me, I want to like install some cool evaporators. So maybe I want to do this experiment or that one. So I really have to think this process through on how I want to start this. Also, this project, literally, I mean, I've kind of been thinking about it, but this started when I was on a road trip with my daughter like 3 months ago. We were on a road trip and she was driving and I was just staring at my phone and I go, you know what? I want to install a walk-in box at my shop. What are some good ideas or what brands do people recommend? That was literally the first, I'd kind of thought of the idea of building a walk-in someday, but that's where it started a couple months ago. So I haven't thought this whole thing through. I'm still working through it. So I really want to take my time and make sure everything's done right. Anyways, okay, cool. So that's the update on the walk-in project. Let's look at the chat real quick, see if I missed anything. Do I have data loggers to record my system performance for this project? I mean, those are ideas that I have. I haven't picked up data loggers yet. I mean, I have so many different ideas, and I'm not saying that this stuff's all going to come true, but like, what if I have a live landing page where people can see stats that are really interested in seeing stats? So what happens if I broadcast those stats? It would have to be done safely. Freon, thank you very much for that super chat. I just seen that came through. I really do appreciate that. That is really awesome, man. Thank you. Am I going to swap in old parts to show a failure of whatever part? You know, Freon, for the life of me, I can't figure out why I've been saving old parts for like the last 2 years. I've been saving old parts, just certain things. So that's a possibility. I have all kinds of parts that I want to diagnose. I have motors. Like, for instance, I have an exhaust fan motor. I don't think I made a video about this year. This would have been years ago, but I have an exhaust fan motor that it shorts to ground whenever it gets really humid or whenever it rains, right? It would always trip the breaker. So I tested it with the mega ohm meter and the insulation's bad. But it's really interesting because it's a failure that only happens when there's a lot of moisture in the air. Other than that, it'll run fine. Very interesting failure. I still got that motor. It's been in my garage for like 2 years. I stare at it all the time. So yeah, I've been saving old parts for different content. So anyways, that's where we're at. If you guys have ideas, if you have things, like, I'm not going to promise that I'm going to do them all, but shoot me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com, or you want to pick my brain about some other stuff. I'm there to ask questions, whatever. Shoot me ideas if you have them. I'm always looking forward to ideas for videos and all that stuff in the future. Okay, let me look in the chat, see if I missed anything else in here. Maybe I can ice skate in Lake Michigan instead of a hike. Oh, yeah, when I'm in Chicago. There you go. That's about, yeah, seems logical. Okay, let's get to this other chat real quick and see, because I'm having to bounce between two different ones. Thank you, Joe, from Trixie. Oh, man, that is an inside joke. That is an inside joke, my friend. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. You should do a live video so people can watch inside my box. Okay, gee, I wonder if that's Adam. All right. Let's see what else. A 24-hour live feed from inside the box. Okay, now Mike B's jumping on this one. So leave a set of gauges on a webcam. Yeah, there you go. I mean, why would you have to leave a set of gauges when you have all these different data consolidation softwares? Like, what if we see, I got to be careful. Never mind. I'm going to not talk about that anymore, because that's another idea that just entered my head right now. And that might be a really smart one. So let me write this one down too. Actually, sorry, you guys are going to be my guinea pigs here, because while I'm writing this idea down, let me see if, let's see, video ideas. You know how many video ideas folders I have in my phone? Too many to count. Contact. I'm not going to name that real quick. Company to talk about walk-in project. That could be kind of fun too. All right. Anyways, there we go. See? Woo, puppy. All right. I should do a time lapse of the build. Yeah, that's already past that point. I'm not doing the entire build on a time lapse. I do have some footage. Whether or not it'll pop up in a video, I don't know. But yeah, the box is already built. All right. Just use a webcam with pen controls for pressures. That's all kinds of ideas. Jason says he can get me some transducers with expansion modules and BAS modules. You can set up a gateway to log in. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. And I wonder if I can get Hausch to help me out with some sort of landing page that we could have access to that data or something for people to view. That'd be kind of cool. Yeah, interesting. But it all has to be safe. So I think in order to do that, we'd probably have to have really good firewall, maybe even a separate router that's only going to that. So that way, yeah, we'd have to figure out some safe reasons, because we can't be broadcasting crap on the internet, having people messing with shit. So we got to be careful about there. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so let's get to a couple other things I have on my thing real quick, on my list. So I talked about AHR. People always ask me, and this is a common question. I have a question from one of my last videos. What's the max CFM of the exhaust fan that I was working on at full power? You know, that varies so much, because exhaust fans have a wide range of speeds that they can run at. So I'm not actually measuring that. I usually match it up to what was existing and then do like a rough and tough air balance to kind of figure out to make sure everything's good and then watch their smoke operation. But I'll typically size the wheel similar to the old exhaust fan, size the pulleys the same, measure the speed on the driven pulley before we change it out, then measure the speed of the driven pulley on the new fan after we change it out to kind of dial everything back in, because it's rather difficult to truly and properly measure CFMs on exhaust fans. You usually need a Pell grid, and then you have to take an Excel sheet, because you typically have to measure at the filter faces down at the exhaust hood, and you are just taking an estimation. It is really difficult to get really, really accurate numbers. And those numbers are not repeatable. They're typically taken over a time average. If I remember right, that's how Captive Air uses their software, I think, or maybe it's not even their software. Maybe it's the Pell grid and the flow hood meter that's doing, but anyways, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent. But measuring airflow on an exhaust hood is very, very difficult, especially at the volume that we're moving through. No, I don't measure the actual speed, and that's just, we just do our best to try to get it closest to, what was existing before. Use amp draw to make adjustments. Was ever right in the first place? Probably not. Amp draw can be used to make adjustments. That'll help you to know whether or not you're speeding it up or slowing it down. Keep in mind, though, when you're working on exhaust fans, again, going off on a tangent, is that the pulley is not used to tension the belt. The pulley is used to speed up and slow down the fans. That is, if it's a variable pulley. Well, I mean, even if it's a fixed pulley, that's used to speed up and slow down the fans. But if you have a variable pulley, there is some misinformation out there that you can loosen the pulley or tighten the pulley to tighten up or loosen the belts. I don't think I've ever come across an exhaust fan that is the way you're supposed to adjust them. I'm not saying that something weird like that doesn't exist, but no, the pulley is set based on the speed of the exhaust fan. The belt is tensioned via the brackets. There's usually a tensioning device or something like that to tension the belt properly. All right, let's go through the chat, see what else I got going on in here. Super cool or supper cool is what my wife says when dinner is done. My wife is probably working on dinner right now. What would I do without her? I don't know. So literally, and she's sick. Oh yeah, which one of you was sick at AHR? I'm asking you right now, which one of you was sick at AHR? Because, now we got it in our house. Come on, for real, guys. But no, I'm joking about that. Not really though. 5G internet dongle. Yeah, that's true. That would not be a bad idea. Again, and the other thing I want to say about my walk-in project too, a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, my electric bill at my house is going to be insane. Yeah, that thing's not going to run 24 hours a day. Okay. That thing is going to run for projects. In my head right now, the running thing is that there might be a project where I'm filming a series of videos and the walk-in might run for a week straight. Okay. And more than likely, to be honest with you right now, depending on, what equipment I select, we might not be able to run the freezer and the cooler at the same time. It just depends, right? It depends on what equipment I select. I size the wire and the breaker for my my sub panel and everything that I have. I size that, based on the max at which, I could size the breaker, basically based on anyways, yeah, I'm going off on a thing. It's not going to make sense what I'm trying to tell you right now. But anyways, yeah, I still haven't decided everything on that. So it's not going to run 24 hours a day. So all the time. Now for projects, yes, it will. But could be a good meat cooler if I'm a hunter. No, I have a plenty big enough giant garage refrigerator that holds all the stuff we need. And we have a freezer and we're good on all that crap. Why didn't I just weld the fan back on the bracket with my oxy torch? Because it's not going to, I'm assuming that you're talking about the exhaust fan where the motor started vibrating, because you're never going to get that thing apart to be able to get to that stuff. And what was holding that motor down was some rubber isolation pads with motor studs sticking on each side of it. And it was like an 11/32 nut. It was just a horrible design on those fans. That's why I like belt drive so much better. Plus, I'm not going to be in the habit of welding exhaust fans. My exhaust fans are full of grease. And grease fires are no joke in these kitchens. You got to be very careful about that kind of stuff. So if you are going to be doing welding on exhaust fans, you truly need to know what you're doing. You need to have a lot of safety precautions ready, because the last thing you want is some embers or sparks going into a weird crevice that you can't see and something starting to smolder and you leaving that place. Grease fires get in walls of restaurants. I've seen it happen many times. It's horrible. So you got to be very careful when you're trying to weld on stuff around the exhaust fans. Not saying it's like gasoline flammable, but it's the embers and things that can go in there that could really mess you up. All right. Let's see. You remember last stream we went over. Oh, someone was asking last stream about 440.22 HVACR equipment can exist on an oversized breaker when overlet. Wait, what? You remember last stream we went over 440? What someone was starting to talk about last stream, was it you and I or was it someone else, was starting to talk about the fact that in certain situations, you can rely on the motor overload within the compressor, and that can allow you to undersize certain wires. That's, I believe, the conversation we were having. I don't know the exact code, though. That sounds like it might be it. But anyways, yeah. All right. Let's see. Someone's saying Brian. Someone's saying Brian. Someone's saying Mike. I think we're just having conversations. That's cool. And Joe. Everybody's just reading off their names. Tell me your name in the chat. There you go. All right. What gas is the cooler going to be running? It's going to be running one of the new A2Ls. I haven't made the decision yet. And there's actually a lot that you have to consider when you're choosing the different refrigerants, because you know, there's multiple A2L refrigerants that you can use for medium temperature, but there's repercussions. And what I notice with equipment manufacturers, like as you're going through looking at the equipment, they have different options for different equipment and different footprints. It's very interesting. So there's a lot that's going to go into which refrigerant I'm going to select, and it's really going to be based on looking at everything. But it is going to be the A2L refrigerants. We're going to have the leak mitigation boards. We're going to be able to do all kinds of experiments with those too. So it should be a fun project. All right. Isn't Heatcraft going to 455 refrigerant? I don't know. Honestly, I haven't talked to Heatcraft about it yet, so we're going to have to talk to them and see what they got. But I mean, their equipment will be able to work with a multitude of ranges. It's not just going to be one, because they have evaporators that you can buy and choose what refrigerant. They're going to have a BTU output based on different refrigerants, but their equipment will work with multiple people. Now, you know, they might have a pre-charged chosen refrigerant or something like that. Sure, I'm sure they do. But, you know, we're still going to be able to select whatever refrigerant, you know, what we were going to use. So Colpack rolled out with a 2-stage equipment for their 290 equipment. Oh, interesting. Okay. I don't know if I've seen that from Colpack yet. Anyways, did I see the EPA trying to push refrigerant guidelines back a year? No, I know that a bunch of manufacturers were talking to Congress or whatever, trying to get them to make some final decisions on stuff. I don't know what the actual final decisions are. It's kind of crazy, though, if you think about it, for you know, the regulatory people to roll back on things after everything's already out in the field. You know how much of a cluster F that's going to be? Like, let's just say right now that they rolled back and said we could start selling R22 today, right? It's going to be so hard to get it in stockpiles to where the US would start using it. So you could do the same thing with 404. If all of a sudden they said, boom, 404 is 100% approved, everybody can go back to things, let alone all the manufacturers that have made all the changes. And it's not just simply a really quick thing. Like, they've done a lot of changes at their factories to work with these new A2Ls. So it's whatever happens, we need to make up our mind. I'm not necessarily arguing either way. I just see everything from like an upper perspective, and I always look down looking at everybody's perspectives, right? So I always think, like, what do the manufacturers have to do? What do the regulatory people have to do? What are they trying to get at? You know, I'm always trying to figure out why things happen. And it's kind of crazy, man. So making changes and rolling things back, I mean, come on, man. We need to make up our minds. What are we going to do here? You know, we can't just keep going back and forth. So, let's see, we can tell people there isn't an A3L, it's A3. Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of funny, huh? Yeah, it's silly. The whole A2L, A3 thing. Isn't it the way that I heard it that I believe they were going to classify it in A3 or something, but then they decided to go A2L because it was like the flammability was just minute or something like that. I don't know. There's like some interesting story I heard about that whole thing. Let's see. Deltic Engine says, in situations where the drain pan is negative pressure, what about a pipe from the blower to a venturi at a drain pan outlet to mitigate this so it can always drain? I mean, that sounds like maybe it would work, but I'd really have to really see that to understand it completely. They also do have some weird ass drain where like there's pipes going up to the supply air and like weird stuff like that too. I don't know what they're called. Maybe one of the guys in the chat can talk about that. But yeah, I mean, you know, and there's a lot of people that don't understand the whole negative air pressure drain thing too. But when you're dealing with package units, you have to think of it as the negative air pressure, because there is a negative air pressure in that area right now because the blower assembly is pulling on that area. It's pulling the air through the evaporator, and that hasn't reached the positive side of the blower. So because the drain pan and the evaporator's in there, that side is going to be on the negative air pressure of the AC. There's always going to be a negative and a positive side to that AC. So, you know, and that's what makes the issue happen. So we do need to have water in the P-traps too. That's another important thing. So, all right, let's see what else we got going on in the chat. What am I missing? Halfway there before dinner. Yeah. Dinner's almost ready for me. What does this person say? Static pressure for HVAC charging units and heat. I don't know what the context behind that. If anybody has any comments, especially on Instagram, that I haven't addressed or haven't answered, things are like rolling by really fast and I'm having to look at two screens. Anybody that's watching this on any platform, shoot me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'll try to get to your questions if there are ones that I'm missing, okay? Or just keep posting them in the chat. All right, cool. Let's see what else. Reading through here, Walgreens does that. Pipe in air from the supply to pretty much blow the drain out. It's a pain. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I just like good clean outs, like I showed that trap. And here's the other thing I know a lot of people don't realize, and this is one of the most common things. Whenever I post videos of like doing a drain or something like that on a roof, the entire internet, the entirety of the internet loses their minds because we pipe our drains to the sewer here. I know it's mind-blowing, okay? But that's just what we do, right? A lot of it has to do with coastal cities, and we don't want condensate going into the storm drains, especially near the coast, so we pipe them to the sewers, okay? So that is typically why we have drains going below the roof deck connecting to drains downstairs. It's just what we do here, okay? In a good majority of the areas. So, you know, we typically don't. And I mean, I've even had like a location out in the desert this last summer that was getting fines from the city because they had condensate drain runoff going onto their parking lot. And the city came through and said, you need to solve this. Long story short, they couldn't solve it because they had trained spaceships that don't work without misting devices in the summertime. And those misting devices were causing overflow downstairs, and it's just a dumpster fire. Yes, those stupid trained spaceship units that I've had in my videos for years that I keep telling the customer to let me replace because they're such a pain in the butt, no matter what. Constant issues. I've got lots of videos, comment on there. Michael, if you're still in here, it's those damn same ones, dude. So let's see what else. Not bad idea to keep out bacteria from going back to the ocean. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why. So reading through here, what is my PC setup specs? Oh, I'm gonna break the internet right now because I have a giant, like totally built out gaming PC with like crazy specs behind me that is not being used. And I am running everything from a MacBook Pro M2 Max, which just a bunch of crap. Like I love this Mac. This Mac blows the PC out of the water, especially with the editing software that I was using. The graphics cards and stuff, like we were having issues syncing with Adobe Premiere Pro using my PC. With the Mac, it is effortless and it is amazing. And I'm actually getting ready to buy another Mac here. The planning phases in my head is usually 6 months to a year. I really think things through, look out when new stuff's coming out, trying to decide what I'm going to do, trying to decide, you know, anyways. But yeah, so I'll be getting another MacBook soon, but this one's still doing great. It's just 3 years old and I do a lot with these things. So I'll turn this into my couch computer, and then I'll have a new potentially MacBook or a Mac Ultra. I might be going with the Mac Ultra because I do run 2 Mac monitors right here. So I might go with a Mac Ultra. I don't know. We'll see. But or Mac Studio, not a Mac Ultra. Mac Studio, is that what I'm thinking? Yeah, Mac Studio. There you go. The small tower PC. But anyways, yeah, so that's my setup. The purpose is all the plastic that clogs those drains. Yeah, the plastic in the drains. So that's actually Chris, I believe. Chris was in Vegas. I got to say hi to him. He's in the chat and he's saying the purpose is all the plastic that clogs the drains. Yeah, that's one of the things too. Chris lives a little bit closer to the coast than I do, but even here we pipe our condensate into the sewer. And yes, even where I'm at, all the water ends up going into the ocean. It runs through the Santa Ana River, which is not really a river. It's a drainage ditch. And that eventually makes it to the Pacific Ocean in Huntington Beach area, just dumps right into the ocean. So it does go through some like rough treatment, but the stormwater doesn't get treated like the sewage water. Now the sewage water actually gets dumped out in the ocean too, which is crazy, but because there's always issues with that. But that stuff is highly filtered, cleaned, processed, cleaned with chemicals and stuff like that, and then dumped into the ocean. So not going to answer that one, Adam. Yeah, it's cool. Water savings. Yeah, it's code for water savings in California. Yeah, we have all kinds of stuff. But cool. Right on. I appreciate it. Okay, so a couple more things I want to get to. Do I replace motor pulleys every time I change exhaust fans? Usually it's best practice. If I'm changing an exhaust fan, I usually change the motor pulleys along with it and the driven pulleys. But you know, sometimes if they're brand new, I might not. I might swap them over. I've done that, but majority of the time when I sell a new exhaust fan, when I buy a new exhaust fan, it comes with pulleys. I tell them typically what configuration I want, and then we adjust accordingly. So who makes the best exhaust fan? In my opinion, I mean, every fan out there has an issue. The same question, who makes the best air conditioner? It really depends on, you know, the brands you have access to and the brands that support you. So for me, I really, really like Greenheck exhaust fans right now, but I'm going to preface this. They have their own problems. They do. Actually, literally just discussing a problem I've been having with a Greenheck fan, but I'm still selling them. But there's some issues. Talking with someone at Greenheck, literally at HR, because one thing I will say, Greenheck is on it, right? I complained about Greenheck, like just a you know, frustration one time in a video from a couple years ago, because I had an overnight emergency service call for an exhaust fan not working and the wheels separated. And I commented, literally posted that video like the next day. And I had people from Greenheck that were watching they watched my videos and they contact me. They're like, dude, how can we make it right? Like, they're on it. I got to give them props for that. They literally came up to me at HR, people from Greenheck, and were asking my opinions about problems I'm having. They want to do better. You know, an interesting thing too, we're going off on a tangent right now. So I'll tell you guys a story. I don't know if I've told you this before. Okay. But I'm going to tell you this. This is a pretty interesting story. So a couple years ago, Heatcraft Refrigeration flew me out to Georgia because they wanted to show me their Stone Mountain, Georgia facility. Okay. And they wanted to shoot some promo videos and stuff, but they took me on a tour of the research and development lab. I met all kinds of people at Stone Mountain. Then we did all of our stuff. We did a couple little videos, flew back home. Then like a year or two later, they flew me out again. They wanted to show me their other factory, Tifton, Georgia. So we went to Stone Mountain. We went to Tifton. I met all kinds of people. This is my first like real entry into like corporate stuff, right? Because I went into like meetings and stuff, which was bizarre, right? Because I'm not a meeting person. But anyways, great people at Heatcraft. So we were in a meeting where I was meeting this guy. Forgive me, I don't remember what your job was. I think you were a plant manager, I think. Anyways, the marketing team, this is my perspective on this. Maybe someone else remembers it differently, but my perspective is the marketing team, they're introducing me to these people, but sometimes these people don't really know who I am. So this gentleman who I was being introduced, he didn't really know who I was. So I said, oh yeah, you know, I'm a content creator. I make videos. You know, Heatcraft contacted me because they watched, you know, they liked it, whatever. And they're using me for marketing stuff, right? So anyways, he goes, oh, he's telling me the story. He goes, yeah, he goes, a couple years ago, we had this, mind you, this is a big deal. This is the second time Heatcraft's flown me out. It was a really cool thing. I was very thankful for it. So I was like, you know, on top of the moon kind of a thing, like, right. And so I'm sitting down in this meeting and this guy goes, yeah, a couple years ago, we had this video come across our thing where someone was just really criticizing us and they were really frustrated with us. And I go, really? And my stomach kind of starts to twist, right? Because this isn't how I was introduced to Heatcraft. They didn't come to me because of something I complained about them. They came to me for another reason, right? The marketing team did. But now this guy's describing a video that sounds oddly familiar. And he's like, yeah, this video. And he's describing the situation. And my stomach's starting to twist like, uh-oh, did this just end? So then I go, what is this video about? And he goes, yeah, someone was working on our equipment. They were installing like 2 evaporators. And when they cut open the suction line header to braze the suction line on, they got really mad at us because, little flakes came out. And then he said this line. He goes, and then in the video, he said, hey, Heatcraft, who's going to pay for a new TXV when this TXV plugs up? Right? So that's the line that I made in the video. This guy's describing this video, and I still don't know where this is going as he's describing this to me. He's like, yeah, years ago, we came across this video. It was criticizing us, all this stuff. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, they're just going to tell me to go home early. Like, they're done, because I'm the kind of person that owns up to everything, right? So he's telling me this, and I go, dude, I got to tell you, that was my video. And he's like, really? Really? And then he looks at the marketing guys. The marketing guys have no idea what's going on. This whole interaction's going on. And I'm sitting down with this person just telling him that, yeah, that video where I was criticizing you, that was me. Yeah. And he goes, huh. He goes, hold on a second. I still don't know what's happening here. He goes, I'm going to go get someone. He leaves the room, comes back with someone else. And he goes, this is Chris. Marketing team has him here to meet us. He's doing videos on us. He goes, he made that video where the guy was criticizing us for brazing. And this other person's like, oh my gosh. So apparently the other person, they've been using that video for training for like 2.5 years. And they were super stoked. Like Heatcraft has been so receptive. So the whole long story short, Heatcraft 2 saw a video before they even decided to start working with me and have been using one of my videos as a training aid to show their brazing team why they need to be on top of brazing with nitrogen, because it was true raw emotion coming out in that video and they appreciated that. So that's what I appreciate about Heatcraft. I don't work with GreenHack, but I appreciate that they're a manufacturer that's willing to reach out to me when they watch one of my videos and they see something that I'm frustrated about. So what's my favorite exhaust fan? To get back to your question, I mean, honestly, I like GreenHack, but they have their mistakes too, okay? But I like GreenHack, and one of the main reasons why I like GreenHack fans though right now is because they still make belt drive fans. Captive Air doesn't make belt drive. Captive Air is convenient. They're really easy to order. They really are, but they don't make belt drive anymore. Then they want to shove the stupid VFD in the top, and I think GreenHack might do that too. Part of my whatever, but I hate when people put VFDs or speed controllers that are digital in the exhaust fan. It's going to be 160 degrees in that fan in the middle of the summer. Just tell me something. It might work for a year and then it's going to fail. Electrical components. So anyways, yeah, going off on a tangent, but I appreciate GreenHack fans because they still make belt drive. I really like their fans, and they came up with a super hinge. Okay, I used to use super hinges all the time in my videos, and super hinge got a little too big for their britches, and they started raising their prices through the moon. Well, luckily GreenHack was noticing. I'm not going to say it was just because of my videos. I'm sure they were already on their radar, but they seen me using those super hinges a lot. They came up with their own design that is actually really good, that's integrated in their fans. So we no longer have to sell ridiculously expensive hinge kits. You just tell them you want it hinged and they come. That is their new design. It's a long bar that runs almost the length of the fan. You're not going to get those stupid, because I will say GreenHack had a flaw in the past where their fans would fold over the years because they used a tiny L bracket for the hinge and it would fold after, 5 years of use. Well, they stopped that by putting that new hinge kit on there. So I like GreenHack. So anyways, long story short, bunch of different tangents. That's what fan company I like. So let's see what else we got going on in here. What is this person saying right here? Do I use Apple Notes? You use hourly every job. You have 4,500 now. Crashing issues, too much data, I guess. You haven't talked to Apple yet. I do use Apple Notes, but I don't have that much information on there. I really like how convenient Apple Notes is. That's from Instagram. I really like how convenient it is because it's right there, but there's some flaws in it too. I wish we had a team setting. And, I wish they had a little bit less bugginess, because I have heard from other people about Apple Notes that it can be kind of buggy. I haven't experienced that yet, but I'm on edge about it, right? But if they had a team function, that'd be really cool, so you can operate within a team. I know they have other apps, but man, those apps are crazy sometimes, and the subscription fees are insane. So Let's see. Chris says the company he likes is the company that fixes their mistakes and listens to their customers. Every company is going to have a bad product here and there. It's how they handle the bad products. And that is the truth. That can go with anything. Look, I work in restaurants. Some people watch my videos and they're like, oh my God, that restaurant needs to be shut down. Trust me, I'm telling you right now, if you think what you see in my videos is insane, that's nothing. I do not. And guys that work in kitchens can comment if any of you are in here. I don't work in really disgusting restaurants, okay? Every restaurant has problems. I don't care what restaurant you're working in. Every restaurant will have rodents, whether it be pests, whether it be bugs, they will have them. It's how they deal with them, okay? And when you see how these restaurants that I work in deal with their problems, where they will literally shut down the restaurant for a day to deal with the pest instead of, you know, just imagining it disappearing, like they literally will shut down because they do care about what they're serving. They want their business to succeed. So every restaurant, every manufacturer, everybody's going to have problems. And like Chris said, it's how they handle it, you know? Let's see what else we got going on here. Shared edits. Yeah, I've been able to do that, but even shared edits can get kind of wonky too. But I would love a team setting. But yeah, shared edit is decent. And if you share it with enough people, everybody can edit. Yeah, that is one way to kind of work around the teams thing. Yeah, isn't it insane that some self-contained units are like 7,000? Okay, so Reefer Insight. So if you take a KIRAC prep table that has 2, 4, 6 to 8 drawers. So basically 3 to 4 bays and then it'll have a cold glycol wrap in the top, you know, like maybe a 90-inch box. Those things are like 25 grand for a freaking prep table. Even the non-KIRAC ones, you get into the big Delfields, those things are expensive too. It's insane, man, what equipment's costing these days. I mean, you know, equipment, air conditioning equipment, that's insane too. Everything's getting nuts, man. I mean, Vegas for AHR, oh my gosh, we were like redneck, okay? I am the most redneck California whatever. I rolled into Vegas with an ice chest, okay? I had a bottle of bourbon in there. I had freaking mixer sodas. And guess what? I braved the dirty ass hotel ice machines. Oh hell yeah, dude. I was making drinks. I drank way too much of that bourbon, way too much. But I didn't buy any alcohol in Vegas for the first solid 3 days. I think we bought alcohol, 3 days we were there. I think we bought alcohol like the last day because I ran out of mixer drinks, my ginger ale. So, man. But yeah, I drank way too much bourbon for sure. But yeah, I'm that redneck guy bringing an ice chest up to his room. That was my wife's idea too. And hell yeah, we brought snacks. We brought everything because it's just too much money to spend there. Let's see. Have I got my nerd skills up so that I can plug into the controllers to test and diagnose? Not really. Let's see. That's the benefit of being able to drive to the show. Yeah, being able to drive the show was freaking epic. Even if you can't drive to the show, in Vegas, you go buy a freaking ice chest at the styrofoam ice chest, and you go to the CVS or the grocery store just off the strip, fill that thing up. You can take them into the hotel. They don't care. So as long as you're not taking them to the pool, most hotels will let you take an ice chest in there. And then you just go to their ice machine and get your stuff from there. Save you a crap ton of money. For sure. Yeah, Vegas is nuts how expensive it's gotten. All right. Let's see what else we got going on in the chat. What am I missing? Okay, I already answered that one. From your perspective, in the Bay Area, we need the cost of these self-contained kitchen coolers to stay high priced as your labor rate is beginning to creep up too fast and repair costs don't make sense. So yeah, that's an interesting problem, Justin. Very interesting problem. So for those that aren't local to California and don't understand, the Bay Area of California, which is in Northern California, okay, it's about 8 hours north of me, but the Bay Area has probably arguably some of the highest paid wages for service technicians that are actually in San Francisco proper, okay? And, you know, especially the union guys in the Bay Area. There's a lot of companies off in the suburbs out of the San Francisco proper, but San Francisco itself is insane how expensive it is, right? And then when you get out into the outskirts of it, it does go down a little bit, but the wages there are really high. So obviously if the wages are high, which everybody should get what they earn, right? They what they deserve. Not arguing lower wages, but I'm just saying that means hourly rates are even higher. So yeah, that would make sense, because a prep table cooler that you have to buy in Southern California with our lower wages or our lower hourly rates than the Bay Area, right? We still have high hourly rates compared to the rest of the country, but you know, it's easier for these customers to buy new equipment with our rates. They're not buying the equipment from us. A lot of these restaurants are buying equipment direct or buying it online, right? So they can buy a true prep table for a lot cheaper than, you know, the amount of money that goes into it. So most of these restaurants, they work off of the tax strategy where they just basically get rid of the item when it's depreciated fully. So that way they can just buy another one. They get a warranty, it runs, and then they get the tax write-off again, you know, until that's fully depreciated. Then they just keep doing the same thing. A lot of the big chains will do that. But yeah, it's interesting. You were federal indentured apprentice in San Francisco. Even first year makes stupid money. But the crazy thing is, so interestingly enough, maybe anybody watching in here, I used to communicate with a couple different guys that lived up in the Bay Area, and they would sometimes drive three hours to work in San Francisco because their wages were so much cheaper that a lot of the companies were willing to pay people to drive from way out of town rather than pay the guys in San Francisco proper to do their work. That's interesting, man. Some of these guys working for some of these companies, one of them in specifically that's down in my area now too. One of the dudes, yeah, man, he was driving some crazy hours. He would communicate with me all the time because he would work in some of the same restaurants as me. So he'd be asking me questions and stuff. But that was interesting, man, with the, you know, yeah. All right. I appreciate that, Richard. Thanks for subscribing, my friend. All right. Let's see what else. God, let me see if I'm missing anything in here. I don't know what thing I'm missing. Reading through what I'm missing. I don't know if I'm missing the question. Joe was trying to tell someone to put their thing in capital letters, but I don't see it. Oh, there you go, right there. The commute. Oh, okay. No, I see it. Never mind. I think you're just having a conversation. The commute into San Francisco makes it not worth it, despite the extra money. You've turned down jobs there so you don't have to cross the Bay Bridge and commute 5 hours a day. Yeah, that's insane. When I used to live up in Victorville, California, and I was working at the time into LA and Orange County a lot, yeah, it was, I mean, my commute was an hour and a half each way, and that was ridiculous. So it was 3 hours a day. I got back to myself when I moved closer to where I work. The prices went up moving down here, but yeah, it's definitely nuts. Okay, cool. Let's read through the chat real quick, see what else I'm missing. Very common practice for long commutes. It's actually insane. Some of these companies put it off on the customer too. Yeah, that's wild. Definitely wild. Should you go to school for the HVAC or work at a company and get them to pay for your school and have a job at the same time? Caden, if a company is willing to pay for your schooling, heck yeah, take that offer for sure. You know, I mean, take any education you can get, because guess what? Any education is yours to keep for life. So, I mean, if you can get someone to subsidize it for you or pay for it, heck yeah, take it, my friend. Definitely. But I mean, school is a good thing, gives you the fundamentals, but school doesn't teach you everything. So, let's see. Jason says his dad used to have to drive from San Diego to Ventura and further into Santa Barbara for work daily. That is wild, my friend, because San Diego to Ventura, I mean, for me, from my house to get to Ventura is, on a good day with no traffic, about 3 hours. Okay. Maybe two with no traffic. During COVID, I can get there in 2. But on a normal day with normal traffic, it's 3.5 hours, somewhere in there. We will do a day trip up to Ventura, but it's a long ass drive. So, and then San Diego is another 1.5 hours. Like, yeah, that's wild, man. That is absolutely wild that your dad was doing that. Right on. Cool. Okay. Let me see if there's any more questions on here real quick, because it is time for me to wrap this up. Dinner, I know, is almost done. So, answered that question. How much? Okay. How much does a crane cost when I do these? Cranes are variable. It depends. They charge a base rate and then mileage. So we have usually 3 different crane operators for the most part that we use currently, and we will strategically use them. But I definitely have my favorite. My favorite though is a one-man solo shop, and he's a great guy, and but he only has a certain size crane. So when we need bigger jobs or when we need fancy insurance and stuff like that, but he has quality equipment. Like, he's not pulling over there and having oil spot. We literally used to use a crane operator that every time he would leave, there would be a giant hydraulic oil spot from where he was at. We called him psycho crane or sketchy crane because I was always worried that his crane was going to break down. Like, it was sketch, man. But it was so cheap. But once I started controlling the crane operators, we stopped using him because that was ridiculous. But yeah, anyways. All right, cool. Well, yeah, that's going to be it. I'm going to wrap this up. I really do appreciate you. Oh, that's very cool. Right on. Yeah. So thank you very much. I appreciate y'all. Let's go ahead and cue up the outro music, and yeah, we'll go from there. Let's see if I actually have outro music. Yeah, I do right here. I'll cue that up. There's not going to be any pups tonight, just the outro music. Hope to catch you guys on the next one.